Yeah. Okay.
Let's get right to it.
I won't say holy cow,
Not one time, except for that one time.
except for that one time.
Perfect. Word of the day.
Word of the day is will no longer be said.
Perfect.
Do we scream and yell if you say the word of the day?
Mhm.
Or
Yeah.
Mhm.
Into the mics directly, please.
excellent.
Do you remember Pee Wee Herman?
That's what I was referencing.
That's exactly what I thought. Do you remember that show? No. No. Okay.
I don't know if I can remember that show.
They would say a
She's too
word.
young.
There would be like a word.
Yeah.
Word of the day.
And if somebody said it, like everybody would just freak out on the show. Little puppets, like everybody
Run
would
around
just
and scream and yell. And
Oh, that's pretty funny.
yeah.
Mhm.
It's a game,
Yeah, yeah.
but okay, yeah.
You could incorporate it into your young life activities. People might find it fun because
Probably.
they'll have no reference of where it came from.
Not one, but I'll look so smart because I came up with a super fun new game that's never before been played.
Word of the day.
Word of the day, band. And the word of the day is actually
We have a word of the day?
community.
Oh, I thought it 2 words, just 1 word.
Community is one word.
Yes, it is. But I thought this topic was authenticity in community.
Authenticity in community. That's 3 words.
Or community
Oh,
and
no.
authenticity. But yes, correct. Community is 1 word. Let the record show.
Sorry. Now we all know. Okay. So community and or
Authenticity.
authenticity in community.
Well, you know me. I always start with words matter. So what in the world does authenticity mean?
And what does community mean? Gosh, I didn't come with my defining terms.
No,
We just have to do it on the fly, which is
On
what
the
this
fly.
podcast is all about.
truly.
All right.
Unscripted.
From the Cultivate Connection Dictionary.
Well, we're starting there? Yeah. Okay.
I think so, because I feel like that's the tougher of the two.
Oh, really?
I do personally.
I think you can't have one without the other.
No. Like to define. What does it mean?
Oh,
What does
I
it
thought
mean?
you meant tougher to do.
To
And
partake
We could
in.
probably have a real discussion, which is harder. Community or authenticity. But I think, again, I don't think you can have one or the other.
No. Well, you can't have one without the other.
Yes.
Without.
Okay, but we're defining authenticity.
Yes.
Authenticity. What is that?
It is the practice of being authentic.
Okay. Good one.
In the context of community, it's to show up truly as yourself.
Agreed. To be real.
To be real.
Take the mask off.
Value honesty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honesty can be hard.
It's very uncomfortable. It's much easier to lie most of the time.
It's
feel
much
like
if you're a liar.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, I feel like we just ran off the cliff there really quick, and I was going to reel it back, but I was going to say, I think that oftentimes we think being nice is not being honest. So in order to be nice to you, I can't actually tell you the truth because the truth seems mean or harsh and so I know in my own life, I've pulled back on honesty because it doesn't seem nice.
So that would be an example of not being authentic.
Correct.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
And it's interesting because I've done the same, but because I have received the feedback that it's not nice. And I'm like, I actually think it is. Like, I think it's kinder to be honest. It might not be nice, but it's kinder. There's a difference.
I mean, delivery matters.
Yeah. 100%. You can't just go around throwing stuff at people. You got to be wise about it. And that's where I guess the community part comes in, is if you're not in community with this person, then maybe you don't start showing up in ways that aren't appropriate for the level of relationship that you have.
Okay. So we're talking about if we want to be authentic and real within community, we should probably be connected with that person.
Probably.
And that's probably why making comments on the internet can be a bit of a train wreck.
Yes.
I mean, I get it. We're all just trying to put our words out there, and maybe there's good parts of social media, but I'm not sure. I would love to see a study. How many people's minds have been changed through arguing on social media. And it doesn't always have to be arguing. I think you can put things out there and it probably does influence the world and it's probably for good. But it is interesting because I think we've fallen into a place where the connection doesn't matter anymore. We're just going to bring our truth and we're going to speak our truth, and it isn't really about being connected. And I can look at your life now, and maybe it's fair. You posted it on the internet for the world to see. So maybe that is then a free for all for me to come and tell you my opinions. Yeah. I'm not sure.
Well, even in what you said, our truth, we're going to bring our truth. That's a problem, in my opinion. Which is, that's a problem in my opinion, because I think there is the truth, and then there's your perspective and things that you feel and your experiences, but that doth not make truth, right? So it's like I could have a feeling about what you've posted or an opinion, but it doesn't mean that what I'm sharing is even truthful, really, in terms of reality. So then, but then some people would argue that truth is subjective rather than objective, which changes the way you show up in that as well.
Yeah. I also don't think the solution is say nothing, though. So
no,
because then what happens? What's the quote? Evil wins out when good men do nothing, or something.
That sounded like a quote.
Something like that. Me, that's like, a quote, a repository of quotes. I know the one you're talking about,
yes.
But I can't remember exactly how it goes.
So I feel like I'm arguing against myself right now, where you're like, hey, don't argue on the internet. And the other side of me right now is saying the second thing of, hey, make sure you put the truth out there. It's important. So
yeah,
I've just talked in a full circle.
Totally. But then I would echo again. I think the most effective is truth within community.
That's probably ideal. That's probably ideal. Well, maybe we're talking about two separate things.
I think we're talking about two separate things.
Wow. And I'm sitting over here.
When are we going to define what authenticity is? That was like 18 rabbit trails.
You're still
we're coming back. We're coming back.
Yeah, I got lost. You guys left me on the side of the road back there.
No, authenticity.
But I did hear a lot of truth, like, okay, so, I mean, in that kind of like meandering journey before you came back, there was a lot that you guys were talking about truth and like how you show up publicly. So back to the authentic.
Yes. What does it mean?
Okay. Well, I guess since I'm sitting here flapping my lips about authenticity, like for me, it means, like you had said earlier, not showing up with a mask or anything. And really, like the first thing that comes into mind, like speaking of quotes, is the quote about humility. Like humility isn't thinking less of yourself. It's thinking of yourself less. So I imagine that if somebody's truly authentic, they show up present, like with not care and concern, but interested in the other person. Meaning, like if you're humble and you're not thinking of yourself all the time, you're not thinking about like, okay, how am I showing up? What do I need to say to look a certain way? Like I think when you're unauthentic and you're trying to come off a certain way, I would imagine there's like a large part of your mind is devoted to like making sure, like calculated what you're going to say, how you're going to act. And if you're calculating like, okay, how am I going to act? How am I going to show up? What am I going to look like? What are people going to think? Then that's totally, to me, against the whole humility quote. Like you're constantly thinking of yourself because you're worried about how people are going to perceive you. What is your word going to say? Or how is your word going to affect them? And did that make sense?
It does. What I hear you say, which I really like, and I'll go back to you, you can tell me if I got it, was that to not actually know who you are is to show up inauthentically. Because how can you show up authentically if you don't know who you are?
If you don't know who you are,
yeah,
that allows you to show up authentically?
You cannot.
Oh.
How do you show up authentically?
Gotcha.
How do you?
Yeah.
So by simply, as if it's nothing, by knowing what your identity is, that frees you to show up authentically and in humility.
I guess if you didn't know your identity and you wanted to show up authentically, you would have to show up and say, hey, I don't actually know who I am.
Ooh.
I'm struggling here to, I'm not sure. Because
yeah,
that would be the
okay.
So authenticity is what is true and real in the moment.
Okay.
And what is your experience?
Okay. Great example before I lose my train of thought. Like, yes, that solidified what I think the point you were trying to make. So authentic is like you show up in a situation, and let's say, so here, I'll start with the inauthentic version. You're in a community or a group of people, and they're talking about a subject, and you know little to nothing about the subject, but because you're afraid of looking stupid or like an idiot, you pretend. So you're calculating, like, how can I maneuver through this whole discussion and not come across as looking dumb, right?
Yeah.
So that would be inauthentic, but the authentic self would show up and just be so comfortable with, like, hey, I have no idea what you guys are talking about. Can you like clue me in here? And to be able to do that without feeling like ashamed or anything, but just truly be like, hey, this is who I am. I don't know this subject. Can you guys clue me in? That's what I got out of what you said.
We recently listened to a book, and it talked about what it means to be political and to do politics. So, but to be political in a relationship or a situation is what you're trying to do is control the other person's reaction. So you're doing something in order to try to get a certain reaction, right? You want a certain response from this person. So you're calculating, like you said, you're calculating and organizing kind of the way that you're going to act forward so that you can kind of get back what you want, which I would say is the opposite of being authentic, right? Where we're coming and we're trying to control the situation and we're trying to create a certain result out of that situation. And therefore we're sitting there kind of thinking, oh, what steps could I take to get this reaction that I want in this situation? So like, let's say, I don't know, you don't want somebody to get mad at you or angry or something, and something happened, and maybe you just then, you don't really tell them what really happened because you want them to stay calm or you don't want them to get angry. And I think we can look at this a lot of ways, like past history in relationships, right?
Totally.
Like if somebody got upset at you for something, then the next time it happens, you might not, you're going to be a little timid about stepping into that again. And then you might sugarcoat it or say it a different way or approach it a different way, which then means, hey, you're not actually being authentic. You're just trying to make sure that person doesn't react a certain way.
And even worse, that creates patterns and baselines of how people act within that relationship. But then pretty quickly, depending on how key that relationship is, that just becomes how you enter. You make it like a global truth has been my experience. I do that. I think other people do that of, oh, okay, if I do this and they get mad, then I'll do this. And then before long, the narrative that I have for myself is I can't actually tell people when I've made a mistake because they'll be upset with me. So I can never make a mistake. And that becomes like this lie that shows up, and then you end up showing up in community in ways that you never intended, but
Would that be like the stories of people that they'll start with a lie? Or like, they're telling a false story, but now they're in too deep and they have to keep it up. Yeah. And it becomes this immense effort of like, oh my gosh, now whenever I show up with this group of people or this person, I have to remember like my false story, like you're an undercover spy or something, like to not blow your own cover.
Yeah.
Like you have to keep up this identity.
I'd be interested to know how much energy we spend trying to present ourselves in a certain light and what sort of things we do to do that. Like you were saying, like, I don't want to look dumb, or I don't want to look, how many times have you been in a conversation like that and somebody's talking and you're kind of just nodding along, but you're like, I got no clue. Like I've done it where somebody will say something and you're like, oh yeah, haha. And you kind of nod and you're like, I don't even know what they're talking about, but I don't want to look like an idiot. So I'm not going to ask any question.
I did that this morning. We're at the pool and a lady with an accent with a lot of noises, and I had water that you're asking me a question, and I went, maybe, because I had no idea what she said. And I was like, if you repeat it, I'm still not going to know, so I'm not going to confirm or deny. Maybe. My bad.
Well, it's like we've noticed, Amy and I have noticed Andrew Hiller, the YouTuber, CrossFit YouTuber, right? Like, well, it seems like he has a little bit of something that I wish I had, where he has like no filter of, it's just immediately, like if he doesn't understand something or he'll ask somebody. I remember the video, there was a long time ago, he was at a hotel somewhere and he's in the hallway recording.
Oh, yeah.
And the cleaning lady or somebody comes and is like, hey, you can't be here. And the conversation he had with this person was so
fascinating,
like authentic, and it was amazing. I think it was a conversation that many of us wish we could have in situations like that, where he was just genuinely like, well, why not?
Yeah.
Or who said so? And I don't think he was trying to be mean to the person at all.
No.
But it's like, I really admire like some of the questions, follow-up questions he has for people. Like if he doesn't understand something, it's like, well, what does that mean or why? And it's like, just, it doesn't even look like he calculates it. It just comes out of his mouth. I'm like, oh man. And I feel like many of us are probably thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
And have you ever been in those situations where, you know, somebody's saying something or somebody's doing something, and then another person asks a question, and you're like, oh, thank you.
Thank you
that
for asking that question.
Yeah, because like most of the people in the room are probably thinking that, but we're too afraid to ask. But the one person steps up and does it, and you're like, oh, thank you. Thank you for asking that question. Yeah.
So what do you think? I guess, why does it matter? Because I think authenticity requires you being real and vulnerable. And that's community and connection requires authenticity and vulnerability and some of these words that maybe we don't love. So I think about, for myself, the idea of relationships, like covenant relationships. The Bible talks about covenant. And so covenant is what God has made with us, and it's basically unbreakable. So he makes this covenant, this promise with us, very different from a contract, where a contract is like, hey, we've agreed to these two things. We're two parties. And if you don't live up to your end of the bargain, then the contract is broken and we'll just walk away.
Yeah. There's
Right?
terms.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of, I think, in our world, we're used to.
Totally.
Right.
Everything is a
Especially-
contract. It's
right.
considered smart, actually, to like make contracts for your relationships and endeavors.
Absolutely. But God puts out there, hey, here's a covenant. I want to come with you. And it can't be broken. Like when we step into this, like if we look into the Old Testament and all of this, the covenants they made were made for life. And it was only separated by death. And you would, you'd give your life for that person and you were fully committed. And I will say that is not something I fully understand at all. Especially living in the Western world. It's like, I get contracts. And so on this journey of learning about covenant, but there's always been something in me so drawn to it. Like it fascinates to me, this idea that you could be, I think we're wired for it, right? Connected to a community or to people or to God. And you just know that that is secure.
Yeah.
And no matter what the hard times you go through, the good times, bad times, like there's a security in that. And that is the devotion of God to you, because he's never unfaithful. He'll walk all the way through. And so I've always had a fascination with covenant relationships, the idea of it. And then yet at the same time, it's a huge desire and it's also a massive fear, where it's like, I think this idea of this is incredible, but the cost and the ability and the way to get there, I'm like, how does that even happen? Like, is it even possible for people to walk out relationships that way? Especially when we look around and so many relationships fall apart.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, I'm the same way. I don't remember when it was, but somewhere in my like late teens, early 20s, I had this real obsession with learning everything I could about David and Jonathan and their relationship and what that covenant looked like. And I was leading like a Bible study for high school students at the time. And we went through it and talked about it and processed it. And this idea of like, yeah, covenant relationship is I have been curious about it for so long, but it does that. I think I can name the fear. For me, the fear is the vulnerability that comes with it, right? Of what would it look like to actually enter it? And my question as we're talking about it is, in those covenants, one thing I can't remember is, was it an agreement, or was it God saying, this is how I'm going to show up for you? Was there two sides to the equation? That's what I'm trying to think about here right now. I might be going off somewhere.
Yeah, I think in order to have a covenant, both parties need to enter in to it for sure.
I'm just trying to think now. We moved from authentic, like what does it mean to show up as yourself?
Yeah.
And now we're talking about community.
Mm-hmm.
And I hear you guys talking about like covenant relationship, but I want to back up for a second and go into like what would you say, like, are you able to remember the last relationship you've had? Like not just more than just like a coworker or something, but like actual meaningful relationship, like somebody you consider a friend, family, significant other or whatnot, where, how do I explain it? I guess it was a one-way street. Like the reason I asked this is I was thinking for myself, like my ex-wife, like my previous marriage, that was the last known relationship of mine where I look back, I'm like, oh, wow, that was totally like there were times where we would have an argument and it felt like you weren't on the same team. It was just like two mortal enemies, right? Like battling it out.
Yeah.
Whereas I hear you use these words like covenant relationships and stuff. And I imagine that even in times of disagreement or you don't see eye to eye, you look across at the other person and you don't see a mortal enemy. You see like, hey, this is somebody I know like cares for me or wants the best for me. And right now we're not connecting, but like you look at them and you understand like, hey, I might not be receiving the words they're speaking, maybe how they want them to be received, but I need to look at this person and realize like they love me and they value me, right? It's not like this person isn't my enemy. If that makes sense. Like, so for me, I can't remember a time since then. And that's been since 2006 that I've experienced a relationship like that.
That didn't have that?
That didn't. That didn't. That was the last relationship I've had that was just a tough one. And maybe that's a challenge to me. Maybe I need to seek, deeper relationships, right? Like that's another good question is like, if you're entering into, or if you have a really meaningful relationship with somebody, like even Amy and I, when we first got married, our first several years, like it wasn't just perfect right off the get-go. We had to learn how to communicate, but we knew that we loved each other. Otherwise, why do you get married? And you knew that the other person wanted to see the best for you. So I think that is like something both parties can grab hold of, like as an anchor, and say, okay, at least this, we know this is truth in the midst of the storm surrounding us right now.
I would say that shifted over the years. I would say in the beginning of our marriage, there would be a little bit of, for me anyway, forgetting that we're on the same team. And that, you'd start butting heads on something and then all of a sudden you spin this narrative up that, well, Lee's against me, right? Usually coming out of my own hurt. So something would happen and I would be hurt. And well, obviously he's trying to hurt me. Like, and if you thought about it rationally, of course he's not. Like, we're on the same team. But it wasn't until, we had to deal with some behaviors that we brought into the marriage and some wounds and some stuff so that we could actually walk together. And I don't know, a story that we kind of talk about every now and then is, in the beginning, I don't know how you describe that. How would you describe it?
I don't even know what you're talking about yet.
I was pretty controlling, would get angry, would get what I want. Would throw a fit if I didn't get what I want. And when I threw a fit, you would give me what I wanted. And so that worked really good for like good. It worked pretty well for me in my system for whatever many years, but it wasn't healthy. When I say good, I don't actually mean good, but
effective.
Ish. I got to keep living with my junk and nobody was questioning me on it because, if you tried to push back or stand up to me, I would just push harder and throw a bigger fit.
Yeah.
And so we ended up doing a marriage intensive for 5 days down in California. And it wasn't until then when we got some tools and we learned some stuff and started applying the tools. And it had a lot to do with you not just putting up with poor behavior, really. So I would throw a fit and you kind of laugh at me a little bit, really. What was that like for you?
Yeah. I think the answer to that is probably, I attribute a lot to prayer. Prayer, like prayers we prayed, prayers probably other people prayed, especially your mom. Because I can't put my finger on one definitive like moment, like, oh, this was the key. But there was a shift, and I would say it took courage on my part. It took courage to stand up against something. It wasn't like Amy was physically abusing me or anything like that, but it was, and I guess it depends on your personality type as well, right? Like I'm a pretty easygoing guy, like, blessed are the peacemakers. I like that. I consider myself a peacemaker. So in others relationships, I'm sure there's like one half of the equation gets combative and like there's abuse, right? For me, I would go the opposite. I would retreat and just be like, okay, leave it alone. So I used to tell Amy it was more like a porcupine with quills, right? Like I'd do something and Amy's defenses would go up and it would be like a porcupine with its quills out. Like, okay, well, I'll just back away and give it some space until everything calms down, and then we'll just enter back in and almost pretend like that didn't happen. But that's not healthy, right? Because that's not addressing the root issue going on. And so there was a moment in time where it's just like, nope, not doing this. And it was like part of the breakthrough thing I mentioned in one of our podcasts of, we use that term breakthrough, but it actually means like breaking through something. So the shift I had was, now I call it mashing the gas pedal. So it's like whatever instance is an uncomfortable situation, maybe not the best analogy, but I liken it to like something jumping in the middle of the road in front of your moving vehicle, right? Like trying to get in your way. And instead of slamming on the brakes and throwing it in reverse and like retreating, instead you're just like, okay, like I'm just going to mash the gas pedal and I'm going to hit this thing full speed ahead, right? Like I'm blowing through it because I knew that on the other side, like, was freedom and breakthrough.
Totally.
So it became like, now I would, I'd do this thing where I'd rub my hands together like, all right, this is like, come on, like with sheer excitement of like us getting through this, no matter how many times it takes, it's going to be so worth it. Right. Yeah.
And it took a little while, but things definitely rewired where I was like, oh, this isn't going to work anymore. And then I had to look at it and go, wow, I just had a little freak out session like a 2-year-old. Yeah, that's not that cool.
Now I'm embarrassed.
Yeah. And now what are we going to do about it? And just with him standing up a little bit more and not walking on eggshells and not like allowing me to do whatever I wanted, then I had to come and look in the mirror and go, okay, there's something wrong. And God, what is it that we need to deal with here? This isn't acceptable. How can we move forward? And so that brought freedom. And so I think honesty and courage are a huge part of community, right? Not allowing people to stay in that space. I mean, it's.
Wow. I'm starting to hit my like getting super jazzed up moment, like where the juices are flowing now in the conversation, because I feel like this is a prime example of, we have, what's the quote, we're drowning in information and starved for knowledge, meaning everything we've talked about so far is written in so many popular best-selling books about communication and healthy relationships, all that, right? And so we have endless amounts of information at our disposal on how to properly like navigate all of this. And yet, for some reason, when it comes time to put it into practice, we don't do it. So like the instance where Amy and I were talking about where, previously at a retreat, throw it in reverse and get out of there. It's like, that's not the right response. Like you've read things that say what the proper response should look like. So the gym analogy, it's like you learn all about working out or deadlifting or box jumps or whatever the workout is. You've read up on it. You've listened to podcasts. You're a professional with the information. But then when it comes time, like, okay, like got to put the hands to the barbell, or you got to actually do it and put it into practice, you just run. Like you just run out the gym for whatever reason. And it's like you've just missed the second half of the equation of like putting it into practice, because it's going to take the actual like applying the information to experience the breakthrough. So for me, I think about that. It's like, yeah, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, seek first to understand, and like all these things we're talking about. It's like many of us know these things.
We know it.
Well, how much of it just comes down to that piece you said, courage.
Mm-hmm.
I think part of it is, for me anyway, like I put conflict in the bucket of bad. Don't like conflict. I don't want conflict. Conflict is bad. So avoid conflict at all cost. But conflict isn't bad, right? The story we just described would have been conflict, right? We would have started clashing with each other. I would want to get my own way, so I'd throw a tantrum, and then you, instead of just backing down, you would rise up, and all of a sudden we have a conflict.
Mm-hmm.
We have something that needs to be solved, and that becomes this opportunity. And I think for me in this journey, it's been like, conflict isn't bad. Actually, really amazing things can come out of conflict if we can learn how to do it well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think most of the time I've spent a lot of my life just backing down from it. Not fighting for what matters, not showing up authentically, not speaking the truth in situations, just for fear of the conflict itself or what will happen. Fear's so funny, right? Because when you start asking, like, what are you afraid of? Like, the fear is so big.
Yeah.
But then when you start asking it, well, what would happen if you said that to that person? Well, they might get angry. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What would happen if they get angry? Well, they might never talk to me again. Okay. What would happen if they, like you kind of go down the road and you're like, at the end of the day, if we come up with the scariest thing that could happen, it's like, it's really not that bad.
No.
And then if you were to weigh out, well, what could happen if you spoke to them in a situation and it actually brought them freedom?
Yeah.
And it brought them the grace to become who God created them to be. Like, is it worth it? Now, again, I'm not saying just go around yelling truth at people when you see things, but it's that piece you go back to is how do we create the kind of connections and relationships where we can have those conversations then, where we can speak truth into people's lives in a way that's helpful.
Totally. I so believe that you can't have healthy relationships or healthy communities without conflict. It just doesn't exist. If you have a friend and you've never fought, good luck. It's coming.
Right.
And you better practice, right? Like I had to practice, and I say it in past tense as if I'm not still doing it. I had to practice being good at conflict because I'm an Enneagram 8. I'm not afraid of conflict. I quite like it. But historically, I would always look at things as they were something to win. It was often me versus the other person. And I like how I feel when stuff's going down. Like I feel the most alive when there's like both walls are up all of a sudden. And I'm like, oh, okay, here we go. And it's like, that's probably when I'm my smartest and my quickest. And I'm ready for whatever it's going to take for me to win. And so that gets and I would win most of the time. So that gets like a pretty good feeling after a while. Being married to me was tough, I think. Sorry, Curtis. But, so it's been this continual journey of my fear hasn't been of conflict, but it's how do I actually enter into conflict and see it as a bridge rather than as a battlefield, and see it as you and me versus the problem, and see it as an opportunity to practice always assuming the best of the other person. That totally changes the way you show up in conflict. And so I think, it's sort of funny. You need both courage, but then you also need this reality of like, is what you're saying actually assuming the best of the other person? Like, are you actually speaking truth? Are you seeking to understand before and all these other things? So it's kind of like this, you have to walk both tightropes to actually get somewhere really healthy.
Well, I wonder what would happen if we approached conflict realizing, hey, this could actually be connection, right? This moment of conflict, like all of us have walked through conflict with people, and on the other side, what happens? Like if you do it well, like if we don't flee and we don't blow the whole thing up and we don't all run away, if we stick it out and we work our way through using conflict to get through whatever we're doing here, on the other side, you're always closer.
Oh, you learn so much.
You're always stronger. There's always
Yeah.
more connection,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's just the fact of like, if we avoid it and never talk about it and pretend it's fine, then there's always that kind of that hidden resentment,
Totally.
right? Where you like, we'll carry stuff forever. You
And
know,
it's not that
and the
hidden.
other person is probably, yeah, but the other person could be totally blind.
Oh,
And
yeah.
you could just be like, to the point where then the conflict becomes like chaos, because you're like, I've been carrying this for 5 years and now I'm losing it. And the other person will just be looking at you going, I had no idea. Why didn't you say something?
Yeah.
You know, like to them, not
This is my
really
first day
a
with
big
this.
deal.
I don't know.
And
Yeah.
so it is interesting to kind of begin to look at that and go, what if I looked at conflict as not something to avoid or be scared of? What if it is actually one of the keys to connection?
Mm.
And I'm thinking of conflict. It seems pretty ridiculous. I venture to guess that most of the conflict that we people experience, it's like so, I don't want to say insignificant, because obviously like it's significant enough for people to have conflict over. But it's not like the type of conflict where, you know, the Nazis are marching down the main street coming for your family, right? Or you're going up against the big industrial plant that's dumping waste in, you know, your farmer dumping waste in the river the cows are drinking out of. Like, it's not I doubt it's a big pressing issue like that, a life or death issue. It might be like how you load the dishwasher, or, you know, you didn't invite me to the birthday party, you know, like just little things. And once again, I don't want to diminish them, but I wonder if like you look back and like if we were to replay some of our like conflict highlight reels, I venture to guess I'd look back and be like, that's so silly. Like, I can't believe that was such an issue.
Well, and the faster you act, the smaller the issue it becomes.
Totally.
It's when we start layering on layering on layering, and then we get the resentment, and we keep that thing in the dark. This is like, that's the place we can't be. The enemy loves things in the dark, loves you isolated, and keep your issues in the dark. Don't bring them onto the table. Don't bring them into the light.
Mm-hmm.
So if I have a conflict, or if I have something that comes up that bugs me about Marika, if I would go to her right away, we'd probably have a good conversation. We'd walk that through. It'd probably be a no big deal. But if I don't bring it to her and I just start to fester on, I'll be like, man, she's just so whatever. And I can't believe she did that. And then weeks go by, and then something
then I do
else,
it again because I don't
something else
know.
happens. And then you're like, see, I knew it. Like, she's just so selfish, or she's this, or she's that. And it just keeps baking it in and in and in and in. And some people can go for years in that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, what is that doing inside of you? Like the resentment, the bitterness, the like even into, maybe we're entering into the realm of unforgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
And so when that comes out, like, that is some grossness coming. Like,
Yeah.
I just have a picture of like, hey, you go to clean this stuff out, and you're like, it's been in there so long, and it's like black and tarry and like gross. But I'm like, in the beginning, it was just this small little hiccup, or this small
Totally.
little piece that, had it been dealt with right away, you're just like, oh, cool, no big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wonder how much of that we have stored in us. And a lot of that is just going to be based on, what kind of tools do I have for being able to walk through things with people?
Mm-hmm.
How much of my identity, where is my identity in?
Totally.
Right?
Yeah.
Like the one we talked about, when you get offended,
Mm-hmm.
it's just essentially showing you, hey, there's something going on in here that probably God wants to touch and reveal and bring freedom in.
Mm-hmm. And it's this idea that I so believe in, that if you don't practice it with the small things, you're not going to get great when it really matters. Like, if you really care about great relationship and you want to be good at conflict, even if it feels small and significant, it's a gift, and it's an opportunity for connection and practice to actually enter into that. And you don't want to get nitpicky, and you don't want to make, you don't want to make a huge deal out of everything. But by simply learning how to actually address things and enter into conversation with people, and to let people in rather than stuffing it all down, like, you're going to deal with a lot of stuff, and then you're going to be really well practiced by the time something comes up, or you can look back on it and be like, oh, actually that one really did matter, and I knew what to do because I practice.
And if, as we practice, perhaps we can bring things to people not in a defensive state. So generally, right, that's what ends up happening. I get offended, something happens, then I'm super defensive. And anytime I come at you like, offensive or like, you know what I mean? Like I'm hurt, so I'm going to come kind of with a push. Well, automatically that person is going to defend themselves. That's natural.
Yeah.
Right? When it feels like harm is coming against you or anger or something, they're just going to be defensive back. And so what if we could diffuse some of that because we've practiced, because we can settle into that and just have conversations.
Yeah.
Right? Or even as you're practicing, right? To be with that person and be like, hey, I might get a little heated in this, but that's not an attack on you. I'm just trying to learn how to regulate and figure this out. And I think that becomes, I mean, it's something we've been working on as a group of people, is like, how do we deal with triggers? How do we regulate? How do we relate to one another?
Yeah.
And it's been fascinating because one of the lies I think of that movie, A Few Good Men. You probably, it's old, but there's a scene, it's Tom Cruise, right? Who gets up, or is it Tom who gets up and says, you can't handle the truth? No, it's the other guy.
Oh,
that's Jack Nicholson.
Jack Nicholson, right?
I know that quote.
Yeah, okay, fair. That's everywhere. So he has that thing, you can't handle the truth. So
Yeah.
I have a little bit of that where I believe that. Like I tell myself in order so I don't have to be brave and bring the truth to people, that they can't handle it. It's too much for them. And honestly, more and more as I venture into this, it's just not true. Like I'm watching people are actually very resilient, and the truth is helpful, and not telling the truth and not entering into that in a relationship is just, it's hurting everybody. Like nobody wins in that situation.
Yeah. Well, this is good. I feel like this is a segue because I wanted to make sure that we also, like, we spent a lot of time talking about conflict. So authenticity, showing up, right? Not putting on a mask, you know, your authentic self, which is being humble, which also means, like, if you don't know something, like, hey, you're not stupid. You just ask a question, right? And then community. In community, you're likely going to experience conflict. The whole storming, forming, norming thing, like team development, right? You know, so you're going to have conflict. But now you're touching on like something I wanted to talk about as well, is calling each other up and out into the fullness, right?
Yeah.
Like where you see the gold in someone, right? Because like iron sharpens iron, and we're here to make each other better. Like there are things that you may see in me that I don't see, or maybe I don't believe, and I need somebody else to speak that into my life, to call me up and out into the more, right? Like they know I'm created for more. And so with that and the conflict thing, what is the difference between, how can somebody, say, be at the gym who maybe paid for a private coaching session to improve in something, say their snatch, right? Like overhead position in their snatch or whatever. And that coach can point out things of like, hey, you know, you're doing this wrong. Like they're pointing out errors and flaws and helping the person become better. And you, as the one on the receiving end, are thankful, and you're actually paying good money for that feedback. What's the difference between that? Like, why can that be so easily accepted, and somebody goes and pays money and seeks it out purposely, versus somebody seeing like the gold, or seeing like, hey, you know, have you ever thought of this, or change this, and that gets quite a different reaction? Is it because it's not, it's because the person on the receiving end hasn't agreed to it or hasn't subscribed to it?
I don't know that there's a blanket answer, but I would say what I've seen, like part one, is like you're talking about coaching. So that's something I've done with Marika. We've done like spiritual coaching, and it's the same premise. She comes, she's paying, she's hungry, she wants to grow, she sought me out, she signed up for it, so she's ready to go, right? And we've seen so much growth in that, and I would say it's very much that process, right? Where we're pointing out a few things. Hey, actually, can you see here that actually we're going down this road here, and maybe that's not actually what God has for you, right? Or opportunities to speak into, here, I see this, and this over your life. Like, I believe this is who God's created you to be. So I would say that's similar as far as growth goes. As far as someone receiving or not receiving a word or an encouragement or pointing something out, we talked about probably being in relationship is helpful,
Very.
right? Otherwise, it should very much be led of the Holy Spirit. Like if I'm meeting a stranger, someone somewhere, and I really do feel strongly like God is pressing on my spirit to encourage them or speak something, like you could just have a natural, like encourage them,
Yeah.
and speak to them. But as far as correction, I think there has probably been a lot of misuse of correction in the church, right? Like I really do think correction belongs inside of relationship. I don't think you should just go running around trying to correct the world. And I would say that's what we talked about online social media. It's a lot of people just trying to go out there and dole out correction.
They're not a lot of doling out encouragement and other things. Yeah.
But it's really going to depend. And this is a topic that's been kind of burning on my heart a lot, is the condition of their heart. Like where are they at and what are they ready for? Right. I still want to dive more into that parable that Jesus tells. That kind of sounds like it's going to unlock every other parable, but it's the soil of the heart. So the farmer goes out and spread the seeds, and what happens? Some of them fall onto the path. Some of them fall onto the rocky soil. Some of them
overrun by weeds.
Yeah, they get overrun by weeds.
birds.
There's the joy. You hear the word, it starts to go down, but the roots can't go down deep, and then the sun comes out and it fizzles and dies away. Right? That's a hard one, I think. When you look at people, it's like, oh, they got it. Right? Like that first initial reaction, and you see like they had a little taste and see of God, and they had a little bit of an encounter, but the condition of their heart and what was going on in their life wasn't allowed it to root down, and then it just fizzled away. I think or the weeds choking it out. Same thing. They get that initial connection with the Lord or encounter with the Lord, and there's a little bit of breakthrough. And often we think, okay, yeah, we got it. It's enough. It's like, no, we have to steward this thing.
Yeah.
You know, what God has given us. And so that's hard because like the cares of the world come and I start worrying about finances and the things I have to do. And then it chokes it out. I think, I'm not sure, but I feel like sometimes more so than like the ones that are thrown on the rocky soil where their hearts are hard and they just don't get it. You're like, okay, they have a hard heart. It's the ones that like start to get it and then it fizzles out for some reason, or the cares of the world. So that's hard to watch, you know, and so my question with the Lord, I've actually been inquiring and just kind of wondering and inquiring. It's like, God, how do we go from that rocky soil or hard heart even to the not a lot of depth or allowing the weeds to choke it out to get to that point where the soil of our heart is so ready and tilled, and the word of God and the encounter of God and the encouragement from someone could plant one seed in there and then it could come forth like 30, 60, 100 fold, right? Like the fruit that could come from that. And I think so much of that is the state of the heart. And somebody teach me, like, how do we get to the point where the state of the heart is ready and open? Because fruitfulness has to start from that place. We can't plant anything and have fruitfulness if we have a hard heart.
If someone knows, comment down below.
Yeah, right. If you got it figured out, I'd like that teaching, please.
Yeah. Send it our way.
I almost blurted out our word of the day because you were fired up there. Man, you were giving her. I like that. When you first started speaking, I'm like, I almost interrupted because I'm like, man, bookmark this for later. That when you were elaborating on the whole coaching thing, like how Marika has sought you out and paid and purpose, just like somebody with a private coaching session has paid and purpose to get better in this specific area, that willingness to show up, right? I got super excited because I'm like, what would it look like for a group of people? Whatever group of friends, like, whether it's 2, 3, 4, whatever, like, what would it look like for a group of people to show up with that mindset that none of them are like, nothing is being paid for. Nothing is like a purposeful session. Like, okay, here's our 1 hour session, but to show up with that mindset of like, I'm here to grow. I'm here to be my life to be spoken into, to be ready for correction. Like, man, what would it look like for a group of people to come armed with that mindset of like, okay, I'm ready to grow and I'm ready to receive feedback.
It would look like authentic community.
Yeah.
Full circle.
Yeah.
That does bring up an interesting point because I don't think community is going to happen by accident. I don't think it's just going to fall together on its own. You'll hear stories of people feeling like, I never fit in. There's no community for me. Nobody pays attention to me. And at the end of the day, you have to be intentional. It's a choice.
It's so you pick. No one just happens upon great community. It is so much work because you're creating a culture in a community, right? And so It's this idea, like the weeds are a really great example of if you're not constantly weeding stuff out, your culture is going to get choked out by the culture of the day. Like you have to be intentional about it. And so if you want to create something amazing, typically it comes with showing up. It's going to cost you something. It's going to take work and dedication. And if you're not willing, that's okay. But you can't sit there and be upset about the reality of your circumstances when you haven't been willing to show up and do the work at the same time.
Yeah. And I would say for the people who have pursued this, like most people want it, they've probably pursued it at some point in their life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lot of times it blows up. I would say it doesn't work more than it works. Like if we look around the world, community, covenant relationships, like all of that, it doesn't work more often than it works. Like it's a precious thing.
Yeah.
Which means you have to go after it. It's a
Yeah.
treasure to seek. And in my own life, I've been very discouraged. Trying to pursue this with different ones and it not working, and then having like major relationship blow ups, and then you're like, what's the point? And then trying again, and then, you know, licking your wounds. And then there's just this, I don't know, this thing is so embedded in me, like, oh, I guess I'll try it again, you know?
Yeah.
And every time you learn a little bit more, and every time you see your mistakes, and every time you grow a little bit more in here. But I would really encourage people, don't give up.
Oh, it's so
Like
true.
there's going to be more fails than successes, but you really only need to find really one success, right? You really only need to find that one community, unless you happen to move to another one and maybe you can create another one. But
Yeah.
you can also get good at it,
Yeah.
right? You
It's
can
a
get
skill.
Yes, you can get good at finding community, creating community, being community, and encouraging others in community, right? To be multiplying that. And so, and there, I believe there's people that are gifted for this. You know, they're anointed for it, that God has called them to gather people. We're all called to be in community, but
Yeah.
it's like, fine, just keep trying.
Yeah.
Like if you're in a community, you're like, this is not working. Like, don't do I'm running away because some sort of, I don't know, like victim thing, or like, it's not working for me. But
Yeah.
legitimately, like if you're not connecting well, if you're showing up authentically and you're just finding there isn't a real connection happening, then it's okay.
Yeah.
Go find someone else. Like you have to have something that you connect around.
Totally.
You have, like, you can't just be like, we have nothing in common.
Yeah.
There's nothing we like to do together. So let's have community. I'm like, that's
and
gonna be
those
hard.
departings don't have animosity.
Correct.
Right? If you're showing up authentically, you're doing the thing, you're trying, and you're like, hey, this just isn't working. Most of the time, it's like, we're going to send you with a blessing,
Yes.
right? If you're leaving with animosity, then you need to circle back because something wasn't right there. But like, I don't know, it's happened from churches, right? You're like, hey, this church isn't working for me. And often if it's legitimately a thing, like I've seen so many times where pastors will pull them up and they like bless them into their next community.
Totally. It doesn't have to be bad.
No.
So I would say twofold. Like if you're feeling like you're disconnected, like you don't have community, ask God to heal those holes, because maybe there's some spaces in there where you've given up, you've lost hope.
Totally.
And it's time to hope again, because God has created us to live in community. Like he has a community for you. So just trying to embrace that hope.
Yeah.
Right. And then number 2, keep trying, keep searching, pray, ask the Lord, where are the people you have for me? Like it has been years. I've been praying for my tribe for years. And with so many like disappointments along the road. And now I'm in a place where like, hey, this might actually be forming. We're actually coming into a place of connection with really great people and trusting God, but it'd be so easy just to quit. And it's worth it. Jesus is worth it. Like we can't actually express the fullness of Jesus outside of community.
No.
So this isn't all about meeting your own needs of community. It's actually about reflecting the glory of God forth into the world.
Totally.
Right? He will know you're Christians by your love. Like love God, love others. People will see that and know that there's a God in heaven that loves them.
Yeah.
So it isn't actually about you. You get the benefit of community.
Yeah.
But if you think community is for you, then we really need to look at that as well, because community is about connecting with others, loving each other. You will get a benefit from that, but it's ultimately about displaying the glory and wonder of God.
If you're entering into community with the list of all the things you would like community to do for you or to show up for you, you are going to be critically disappointed again and again and again. Yeah. But if you're looking at what you can bring to community and you're looking at what is this community creating, like what's coming out of this, and you've goal centered around that, that's great. That's actually within your control.
Absolutely.
And newsflash, it's like the thing of, you know, you better like worship and worshiping
Yeah.
if you plan on going to heaven. because you're
Because
going to
that's
do it.
all you do there.
You're going to do a lot of it, right? So it's like newsflash.
Yeah.
You better like community because there's no like going solo on this one.
No.
You can try, but that's not the way it's supposed to be.
Mm-mm.